Hi folks, welcome to a Retro Journal. Today is a quick clip, again 5 minutes or less. And today I wanted to talk about something that comes up on my channel occasionally, and that is designation of computers. So you have the 8-bit machines versus what we call the 16-bit machines. And under here you have obviously the Commodore 64. I'll write it like this, which uses the 6502 processor. You have my favorite computer, the ZX81, which uses the Z80 processor. You also have the ZX Spectrum, also uses the Z80 processor. And again, you have a slew of other machines that are well known. For the 16-bit era, you have the Amiga, which uses the 68000 processor. You have the Atari ST, whereas the original Ataris were 8-bit machines, which use the 68000 processor. You have the Sega systems, which also use the 68000 processor, or at least the 16-bit generation, Sega Genesis in the US. And then you have, let's say the Sinclair QL is kind of grouped into this, although it uses a variant called 68008. So how do they get these designations? Well, let's look at the CPU, because this is sort of what it's based on. And the CPU has sort of the following attributes. It has a register, or what they call it, its architecture, which is its internal its internal architecture. And the register is sort of a key element, because that's what it's used to sort of shuffle information around quickly. You have its address size, how much memory it can address, and its data size, how big a chunk it can grab from memory. And so these are various sizes. The register size tends to be the biggest, and on the 68000 series, it's actually 32 bits. Whereas on these 8-bit machines, it's actually 16 bits. Because, so let's do some math here. 32 bits is actually 2 to the 32, which equals 2 megabytes. And that's how much memory it can access. 16 bits is 2 to the 16, which is 64K, hence the Commodore 64. And then 8 bits is 2 to the 8, which is only 256. So if we, so some people suggest, well, these machines should really be called 32-bit machines. Well, if that's the case, then these machines should really be called 16-bit machines. So the common denominator that they seem to be using is the data size, because these have an 8-bit data size, meaning that they can really communicate well with chips, ICs in that era to cheaply develop systems, whereas these start using a 16-bit data bus size. And so they can grab information quicker. The Sinclair QL, however, is interesting, because the 68000 kind of puts it into the 8-bit arena, because even though it has an internal 32-bit architecture, it has an 8-bit data size and a 20-bit address size. These Atari, Amiga, and Segas have a 24-bit address size. I will say that there are other, newer models of Motorola 68000. So I'm only talking about the original 68000, the original machines that came out. So in any case, so when we talk about 8-bit era, the QL is really considered, because of its internal 30-bit architecture, Motorola 68000. It's considered a 16-bit machine, even though its data bus size is 8-bit. So it could really be an 8-bit machine. And it's one reason I call my channel 8-bit Retro Journal, because it kind of fits in there. So again, there's no rhyme or reason other than first generation computers, next generation computers. The Macintosh is another one that fits in here. And that sort of happened in the mid-80s, 84 for the Mac and the QL, and then 85 for the rest of these. And so that's really the generational gap between the two. And to sort of look at internal architecture kind of destroys this 8-bit concept as well. In any case, that's really all I wanted to say today about that. If it's an interesting, so please comment below and we can have a nice conversation about this and what your thoughts are. So I'll stop there. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.